Good evening and welcome once again to the Radical Race Series Round 4 live from Hockenheim in Germany. I am James Parfitt, and once again I'm joined with the return of Ewan O'Leary into the booth after he's had his Christmas holiday. He is back with us this evening. Hockenheim in Germany, FIA Grade 1 circuit for the GP and Grade 3 for the National Circuit. Broke ground 1932, opened in May 1932, so it broke ground in March, opened in May. 9 configurations since its conception, and we are here on the GP circuit that opened up in 2002. 3.73 kilometres, 2.322 miles, 15 turns this evening, but actually I've got 16 on my track map, but we won't argue. And the race track record is set by Daniel Unicadella in a Dallara F309 in 2002 on a 1:19.742. And what an absolute epic racing we have got lined up for you this evening. And I think it's time to bring the one, the only Mr. Ewan O'Leary into the booth this evening. Ewan, good evening, young sir. How are you? Hope you've had a fabulous Christmas this year, and welcome back into the booth.
Yeah, thanks very much. Good to be back again with the Radicals after missing out on last week. Yeah, I'm very much refreshed and prepared for this next round of the Radical Race Series. It's sort of weaves its way on towards the halfway point in the season, coming up in a couple of weeks, really. So yeah, I'm looking forward to being back once again. Hockenheim, a decent circuit, and this sprint and feature format has also produced its fair share of real good drama so far, and real good racing so far as well. I think it'd be very difficult for us to have dull races with this format, partly because the races are really short and very choppy indeed. So yeah, we're in for a good couple of races, I think.
Yeah, we are, and the sprint race will be 8 laps, and the feature race will be 14 laps with an inverted top 10. Last week at Road Atlanta in the sprint race, Dan Webster took the win with Simon Edwards in second and Mike Busson in third. In the feature race, it was Luke Maxwell come out with the victory, with John McHutchinson in second and Simon Edwards in third place. So what does that do with the current championship standings? Well, currently Simon Edwards is leading the way on 148 points. John McHutchinson in second on 138. Mike Busson in third on 108. Colin Wynn in fourth on 104. Colin's not here this evening. He's not very well. He's a bit ill, his old Colin, so he's in YouTube chat. Good evening, Mr. Wynn. I hope you're well. Good evening, Darryl Taylor and John McHutchinson there as well. Paul Clark in fifth on 102. Dan Webster is in sixth on 100, and Paul LeMay in seventh on 92. Luke Maxwell on 85. Robert Woodward on 78 and Dave Rolliston on 74. Below that, we've got James Child on 74 points. Jamie Bird in 12th. Martina Ward in 13th. Darryl Taylor in 14th. Phil Glover in 15th. Graham Brown in 16th. Damien G in 17th place there as well. Andrew Derrick behind him in 18th. The other Graham Brown in 19th. David Beasley in 20th. George Gonzaga in 21st. David Ward in 22nd. Seth Brown 23rd. Phil Jocelyn 24th. Richard Brown 25th. Patrick Charlton 26th. Paul Crabb 27th. And Dave Dowson down in 28th place. So, 2 minutes left of practice, Ewan. We are once again on this sprint and feature. We do go to a new circuit that I've not had the pleasure of broadcasting on yet, and I don't believe you had either, down at Rodskogen for a 29-lap endurance race. Now, you know, we were both earlier on discussing this, you know, and trying to hunt for information on this circuit because it was only made in 1990, I believe.
Yeah. That is, according to Wikipedia, which I'm going to guess is correct. I did briefly before this broadcast just have to look at the track map just to get an idea as to quite what the circuit is really. It seems to me that only regional racing really has gone around there. No sort of global championships have really been there. A lot of Scandinavian series, Scandinavian touring cars and Formula 4 and stuff like that have been there, but global series not really. So footage of the circuit might be a bit hard to find now, to be honest. But yeah, I always love seeing new circuits on the schedule. It does make me worry a little bit about the numbers, about how many people are willing to buy the circuit, because it's likely the first time that a lot of these drivers will actually race it. And it's, if they think they're only going to race it literally for this one event, for that single 29-lap race, and they might think, well, maybe not. But let's hope not. Let's hope that people do take up challenge. It does look like an interesting circuit. A hint of Oschersleben about it for me, and a hint of Shanghai International Circuit as well, with some of those sections. But that's just by looking at the track map, really. We'll find out a lot more throughout the race next week.
Yeah, it definitely is going to be an interesting one, I think, for all of us involved here as well. And as you say, as long as we can keep up, we've got 22 cars on track this evening. Hopefully we'll be able to keep up the same numbers, and hopefully more and more people will get involved with this circuit that, well, I haven't been to, Ewan hasn't been to, and I don't believe this Radical has been to it either as well. Evening, Ivan Bramer, good luck again tonight. Yes, we are just about to go into qualifying. It's going to be an interesting one. There's some change in liveries this week as well, so if you look and see that John McHutchinson has gone back to his Pink Panther livery for this series. He believes it's lucky. I spoke to John earlier on, and so he's back in the Pink Panther car. Mike Bousson as well is another one that's gone back to his traditional livery that was designed by Mark Sykes. So he's gone back to his red livery with the Union Jack down the side as well. So that's, again, there is Mike Bousson's livery for this series as well. So gone back to his traditional one he had in previous series, so it should be absolutely amazing, I think, as well. We were discussing, I think it's going to be an interesting thing, because we were discussing before the broadcast, Ewan, and I've been here before with a series, and the racing hasn't been exceptional either, so I'm hoping we don't get that tonight. It's not my favourite circuit, I've got to be honest, and I think, you can safely say it's probably not yours either, but we're anticipating good racing nevertheless, especially down the Parabolica down into the Spitzkehrer hairpin.
Yeah, I think the length of these races certainly helps them in the Radical Race Series. For example, 8 laps and 14 here today. That 14-lap race is probably going to be the longest one at about 22, 23 minutes. It's going to be a very short race. That's going to have a reverse grid in it as well. So I do think we are going to see good racing because of the format, really, rather than because of the circuit. And to be fair, I often go in with that mindset, certainly recently with Hockenheim races, that they're not that interesting. And then the last time I was here, I did actually see a very interesting race. So whatever. It's look at the draw, really. So you never know. But I do feel like this venue has lost a little bit of its charm since it no longer goes into the forest anymore. Now, I know it's not been happening for about 20 years, but it's not going into the forest anymore. It remains a kind of bog standard GP circuit. Really lost a bit of its character, but yeah, it's still one of those mainstay circuits we've been to plenty of times. And yeah, it will be a good race, nevertheless, as I say, because of the format, really, rather than the circuit.
I think that's going to be the thing now as we jump on with Mike Bousson has just started his fastest lap, 7:32 left on quali. And you can see here, this is probably where we're expecting one of the main overtaking positions, going down into the Parabolica and coming down into the Spitzkehrer hairpin. It's a slow right-hander, and they've got to be careful getting on the gas. If anybody's too quick getting on the gas, then their back end's coming round, so they've got to wait and wait and wait and wait until that car is hooked up properly. And before he goes off round 7 and coming into Mercedes of 8 again, second gear, he's got to get it hooked up. Try and hug the left-hand curve before he can get a good exit on the right. On the throttle, he should be going now up into 4th gear, running up into turn 11. Slight dab, down he goes, and then off on the accelerator to get it round that corner in 4th, coming down now into turn 12. Hairpin section of 12, second gear, round he goes for Mike. And then on this run, wiggly run through 13, 14, and then we've got a double right-hander of 15 and 16. David Rolliston currently goes into pole position. Graham Brown, Seth Brown, the times are coming in now. quick and fast. Simon Edwards going to be on pole, 132.189. What's Buson going to do? He's going to go into second on a 132.853, and that puts him somewhere in good stead for the race.
Yeah, I mean, Buser's not quite had the season that he wanted so far, really, or not the start to it anyway. He's up to third in the standings now, but still a good 40 points adrift of Simon Edwards, so it is good to see him up there again now. Maybe this new livery will bring him a little bit of luck, maybe, over the next few weeks. Let's wait and see, but it's a good start. As we know, though, from these sessions, the longer it goes on, the more important it gets, really. Even this second lap that's coming up is unlikely to be the pole time, really. You're most likely to see those times coming in right at the very end, when we really see the seconds ticked out. Dan Webster's made a good start here, but by no means does that mean he's got pole position secured just yet.
Simon Edwards again is purple in sector 2 on that run coming into sector 3. Here he comes now. He's just coming in to turn 12. He's lost it there. Somebody else has taken the fastest overall sector time in 2. It's going to be interesting to see what he can do now for this final sector. You know, he's had a great start to the championship, leading the championship here with John McHutchison behind him. You know, Dan Webster is on pole on a 132.170. Simon Edwards 131.644 on lap 2. Done and dusted, which is what we were talking about. It's never pole position on the first lap.
No, and relatively rarely is it on the second lap as well. You've got to really keep going at it, and for the third lap is where you really need to nail it. And so Simon Edwards here does have a decent time on the board, but I'm not entirely sure whether it's going to be a pole position grabbing one just yet, as John McHutchison challenges him now. He's up to second place. Didn't really get a very good first lap time on the board at all, but you can just see there, McHutchison, a perfect example that it really doesn't matter, because you can pull it back a little bit later.
Yeah, we've got here Robert Woodward going across the line as well. Robert there jumps up into 19th place, and we've got Martina Ward, who's coming to the end of her lap. Paul Clark is doing the same. David Rolliston would be another one that's coming in to the final into turn 12 before he goes on that run round 13, 14 and 15. Colin Wynn, Mike is in his Go Faster livery. He is. He's gone back to his traditional livery, hoping for some luck. Currently sitting in 4th place, so it's not a bad start to his livery run here. Let's see what Rolliston is going to do as he goes across the line. Paul Clark's got purple in sector 3. Amazing start for him. Dave Rolliston 132.311. Simon Edwards comes across the board at a 131.519. Improves again. He's got his benchmark put down, and he's now said to the guys, right, this is it. What is Buson going to do? He's going to go to third on a 131.907. What about David Ward? Let's see what he can do. This is obviously Martina Ward's other half. Let's see what David can do here as he's going across the line. He again. Oh, okay. He's not.
No.
He's not
impressed with himself, I think.
Yeah, clearly. He is behind Martina, mind you. McHutchison's gone into pole on a 131.50. Oh, Martina Ward. No. Now, last week, Martina did spend a lot of time on the grass at Road Atlanta, and I think at one point, Biggles, who was co-commentating with me, did offer Martina the possibility of coming over and cutting his garden.
That's quite cruel, that, but...
Yeah, I know, but Martina took it as a joke, and said that if all else fails, yeah, he said if all else fails, she'll be able to get a job as Biggles' gardener. So, you know what I mean? So,
I can believe that. I can believe that happened.
Yeah.
To be fair.
It definitely did, yeah. Got a bit of a rough one, did Martina. Well, this is just practicing some starts here as well, going into the hairpin. But it was all good. George Gonzaga here as well. I got to thank George this week. He's sent me over a lovely little voice and a bit of how to pronounce his name correctly. So I should be good on that one. We should get it correct. It's George Gonzaga. Said with that Gonzaga at the back. So
with the passion in there as well.
Yeah, you've got to give it his all.
Yeah, good to see some new faces on the grid, as you say. But And yeah, just on Martina Ward as well. While we were talking about her, there, 7th place in qualifying, which is a very good performance. Just getting a couple of practice starts in at the moment, just at the end of this qualifying session. But yeah, very good qualifying from her. Been a bit kind of an up and down season so far. I mean, we saw that even at Laguna Seca with a very up and down day. It's almost as if she gave us a preview of what her season is going to be like in those 2 races, because one of them was. She had real problems in the first race and then a real resurgence in the second one. So, it's and that's kind of been what the season's been like so far, a bit up and down. But good qualifying there, 7th place. But remaining pretty close. I mean, practice was scarily close, actually, for this race. Don't really know why, but the practice times were really, really close. At the end, qualifying relatively close, but it's still the same top 2 names who are mobbing the front of the field.
Yeah, John McHutchison and Simon Edwards at the top with Mike Buson in 3rd, Dan Webster in 4th, Luke Maxwell 5th. I think overall, though, I still believe that this could be quite an open season with the formats we've got, the endurance, the sprint, and the feature. I think it still could possibly be open. I know it's looking a little bit of a gap at the moment. And Simon Edwards, again, absolutely flying. He's doing what Simon Edwards does best. But there still could get a couple of good fights in as the season progresses.
Yeah, we're not in a situation just yet where I'm about to say, Mike Buson has to win this race and he has to beat McHutchinson and Edwards in this race. But I think we are at a stage in the season where he needs to at least stick with them. And with these qualifying results, you can see, I know he's nearly half a second down, but he is at least sticking with them. The same goes for Dan Webster as well, who's 6th place in the championship, only 8 points behind Buson. Same would have gone for Colin Wynn, but unfortunately he's not here today. No. Paul Clark as well, 8th place in that qualifying session, 5th place in the standings right now. He's very much in that group as well. It's too early to say that any of these races are must-wins, but Buson has to make sure that the same thing that happened last season doesn't happen this season.
Yeah, so we've got John McHutchison in 1st place, Simon Edwards 2nd, Mike Buson in 3rd. Dan Webster 4th, Luke Maxwell 5th, Graham Brown 6th, Martina Ward 7th, Paul Clark 8th, David Rolliston 9th, Paul Crabb 10th, Seth Brown 11th, George Gonzaga in 12th, and then beyond that, Darrell Taylor 13th, James Child 14th, Paul LeMay 15th, Andrew Derrick 16th, David Ward 17th, Jamie Bird 18th, David Beasley 19th, Damien G 20th, Robert Woodward 21st, and Phil Jocelyn in 22nd place. So we've got 22 cars on track. Good evening, Lucas Vieira. I hope you're done and you're all well. Thank you so much for joining us here as well. So thank you so much for joining us. We're just about waiting for the last cars to get on the grid. Don't forget, guys, as well, check out our sponsor this evening, iLoungeRacing.co.uk, for all your sim racing needs, aftercare, builds, and running you through the rig as well to make sure you're completely happy with it as well. So go and check them out at iLoungeRacing.co.uk. You will find the rig of choice for you for all your sim racing needs. So definitely go and check them out. We're just waiting for John McHutchison, Mike Buson and Martina Ward. They have only got about 10 seconds left to get on track, so they do need to get a little bit of a wiggle on. John has just jumped on now. Still Mike Buson. Where are you, Mike? He's going to miss the start. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we are green here at the Hockenheimring in Germany, and it's Simon Edwards leading the way. John McHutchison leading the way with Simon Edwards behind him. Dan Webster behind that. Seth Brown as well behind that. But it's been looking like there's been a big crash at the back here. Paul
dear.
Clark and George Gonzaga having a coming together. Buson is now, I believe, still not on track. Luke Maxwell is not, he is there, but he's at the back as well. George Gonzaga's gone off, but at the moment it's John McHutchison, Simon Edwards and Dan Webster. These guys find out 3 wide, currently coming down into Spitzker hairpin. This can't work, Ewan, not 3 wide into this tight right-hander. No, it did. Well, okay, bit of a rough start.
Oh, it's even rougher as well at the back, I'm afraid, for Woodward has gone around, along with Paul Crabb as well, who has gone around. He's back going again now. But a really messy start, particularly for the likes of Paul Clark, Luke Maxwell and George Gonzaga as well, who went off all before turn 1 by the looks of things. We didn't really get a view as to what happened, but I'm sure we'll obviously take a look maybe when things calm down, because it's been a bit of a mad start. Even 3 wide for the lead. Thought McCutcheon was actually going to lose it. Not because, he had the inside line, but when you're on such a tight line going in towards the hairpin, it's quite difficult to swing round in an actual race car. The turning circle is really bad, and that hairpin very, very tight indeed. But in the end, he was able to hold on to it. But it does look like the top 3 are getting away, even the top 2 maybe, starting to get away from the rest of the field, even after only 1 lap.
Yeah, it looks like there was 8 people involved in an incident. I've got Simon Edwards down, Dan Webster, Darrell Taylor, Paul Crabb, Andrew Derrick, Jamie Bird, Robert Woodward, Phil Jocelyn. Looks like they're all involved as well. Where is Edwards going?
He's missed his braking point. He must have missed his braking marker behind there, and fair play to him for avoiding John McCutcheon, because he could have gone straight into the back of the race leader there and taken them both out of it, or at least given them both fairly hefty damage. Edwards was just really not concentrating there and missed his braking point entirely.
Yeah, he's gone down now. Mike Boussaint's not even made it on track at the moment, so I'm not entirely sure what has happened to Boussaint, but he's not currently on circuit. And we've got also a battle with Graham Brown and David Rolliston here. This is your battle for 6th and 7th currently on the board here. I think maybe it might be just a good time to look back at what happened at the start with Paul Clark and Luke Maxwell. And we can see here, there is Clark.
Oh, my goodness.
Rolliston. Oh! So David Rolliston tags Maxwell. There's Gonzaga. And then it kicks off again down into, I believe, down into turn 1, yeah.
That was, I mean, I don't know what Paul Clark's doing there particularly, going straight into the back of Gonzaga, who just picked his way through, but it was a very bizarre start. There were some people with some absolutely atrocious starts, and some people who had the start of their lives there, and they all seemed to end up on top of each other, and unfortunately it was just a bit of a mess, really. So unfortunate, especially for those that started really well and then were halted immediately, but yeah, I'm not entirely sure. I think Luke Maxwell was one of those who I mean, barely got going there. Down to 17th now, but barely got going off the line there. I've no idea how he's managed that, really.
I think that the thing is as well, what happened was obviously David Rolliston got quite a decent start. He went to go past, and he went to go past. It looked like he tried to come across and obviously didn't anticipate Maxwell being there. David Ward is looking at going up the inside of James Child. Jamie Bird is also looking at making up 2 places through Andrew Derrick. Contact. Just about makes it through. Darrell Taylor manages to avoid it. Derrick's looking at sliding back in behind him again on this run round turn 7 coming into 8. It's been a very sloppy start, and it's not one that I was expecting here. As we can see now with Graham Brown and David Rolliston, again close together on track here. It's been a big scrappy, and we've had another one go round as well. Further down, that was Paul LeMay.
Yeah, it looks like he's just gone too wide onto the curb on the outside line there and spun to the inside. That's often what happens anyway. But yeah, really sloppy start and really unexplainable as well. It's not one of those turn 1s that's particularly difficult. It's out towards the hairpin where you'd expect more incidents, and we haven't had many so far. I know Paul Crabb went around on the opening lap, and Woodward as well. Robert Woodward went around as well, even though he has still made up places. So it's been very odd, really, but can't really explain it, and the driver's just going to have to get on with it now. Some of them have really benefited, like Martina Ward, who's challenging for a 4th place now into turn 2.
Yeah, went in a little bit hot though, I've got to be honest. Made that move round Seth Brown, went in a little bit hot. We've now got Graham Brown and Seth Brown, Martina Ward, David Rolliston. They're battling it out currently at the moment for 5th, 6th and 7th place here, as well as they go down now with Graham Brown currently in 4th. David Rolliston!
Oh dear! Once again, more contact, and a misjudgment there from Rolliston, who's pushed Graham Brown very wide there. He was actually, well, Brown was going wide himself anyway, but Rolliston made matters worse. And then, he's given the position back now, but yeah, a lot of mistakes happening in these opening moments for whatever reason. And as I say, I can't really explain why.
No, but we've got a massive gain for David Ward. He's up 11 places there as well. Luke Maxwell down 11, Paul Clark down 9. That's huge for them guys, especially Maxwell. For any sort of championship sort of aspirations he had, you know, he's now gone down and dropped all the way down to a 16th place. It's just been a very bizarre opening 5 laps here for the Radical Race Series at the Hockenheimring here this evening. So let's look forward. Hopefully it will settle down. We'll get a better feature as well. I want to have a look at what happened here with Simon Edwards initially. This was where Edwards went off, but then there was a massive, what looked like a huge pile-up behind him. Involved was Darrell Taylor. So that's where Edwards initially goes off. And then we've got the Taylor here. Look, it just goes round. And then it just all kind of kicks off, and poor old Paul Crabb is just left trying to recover himself through. It's just been the most bizarre evening of racing so far. Martina Ward now trying to go up the inside of David Ward, husband and wife, of course.
Be awkward.
Depends.
Oh dear. Well, he's got through safe and sound, to be fair to him. So he's done the job there. But Martina Ward going backwards, unfortunately. Graham Brown now on the outside. When you're in a train like this, once one comes through, it's difficult to not let everyone through all at once. David Roniston will know that as well, and maybe fancy his chances of following through as well. But Martina just losing a couple of places in one go there. Potentially awkward moment avoided between the wards, which is good. Yeah, because
imagine that conversation over the dinner table.
Yeah.
If they come to contact and one took out.
They do have dinner together afterwards, I suppose. It could be. You never know. But yeah, Roniston looking to seize this opportunity now outside line the last 2 corners, and looks like he has done it now. Although he did go a little bit wide there, he has got the position. And James Child would try and get his way through as well, but unfortunately 3 places lost in 1 lap there for Martina Ward. And still a position inside the top 10 though.
Yeah, definitely. And there's only 1 down on grid on the qualifying position. So fair play to Martina. Just keep plugging away. And as we've seen previously, you never quite know what's going to happen. Unfortunately for Martina, there is James Child coming up from Racing 86 right behind her. So, and he's going to pull in some draft as well. So it's going to be interesting going down into the hairpin whether or not James Child is not surely going to make that move from that far back. No, he's not. But Luke Maxwell looks like he's trying to recover his way through. He's got David Beasley. Maxwell's going to be looking at going up the inside of the hairpin. Gets the job done. Luke Maxwell back up into 13th place. Damage limitations for Mr. Maxwell, really. As we see David Brown make a move past David Ward and Seth Brown. Graham Brown, oh, there's too many Browns in tonight. Graham Brown's
too much.
Yeah, Graham Brown's followed through David Ward. So that's Ward up into 4th with Brown in 5th. Ward up 13 places. Absolutely incredible.
We should have a British convention about having some more different names, to be fair. But anyway, David Ward's done a good job here. Yeah, we need some more. But no, as you said earlier on, David Ward has done a really good job of making his way through the field here. Biggest climber on the day so far in terms of positions gained. Graham Brown all too happy to follow through on Seth Brown into the top 5. And now those two may well fight over 4th place now. But Luke Maxwell, as you mentioned, it is about damage limitation for his championship aspirations. He's still very much in it, even though it didn't look like it on the standings at the start of the day. He hasn't been at one of the rounds so far. So that will become a drop round, and it will become a lot nicer viewing for him when that gets added a few weeks down the line. But he's got to make it to the top 10. Let's not forget the top 10 are reversed for the second race, for the feature. So he's got to make sure he benefits from that. But he's only 13th with 2 laps to go.
Yeah, I've got to be honest, I can't see him actually making that. With 1.5 laps remaining, Luke Maxwell's down in 13th. Currently, he's got to get up 4 places, and that gap up to that 4 places is about 6 seconds. It's going to be a tough one for him here as well, as we're on lap 7, and this is Dan Webster and Simon Edwards battling away here this evening as they're coming down into turn 12 now. This is your battle for 2nd place. John McHutchison up, not too far up the road. That new Pink Panther livery seems to have brought his luck in the sprint race here, and he's in 1st position as well. Good evening, Mr. Chaz Draycott. Welcome in. Thank you so much for joining us. Here we go, though. This is going to be final lap of the race. Dan Webster, Simon Edwards, battling it out, Ewan. How's this going to turn out?
Well, I think Edwards might just have the edge here, to be honest. Dan Webster has done well to hold on to these positions. He's having a good season. He has got some great results so far. But I think he is going to have his work cut out here. Simon Edwards needs these points, let's not forget. His main championship rival is currently up the road winning the race, but this is his main opportunity into the hairpin at the bottom of the circuit, and he doesn't look close enough to me. If he wants to dive late on the brakes, then he will, but he's not close enough, and Dan Webster might well be able to hang on here. It's just going to be all the more difficult for Edwards to go through from now, but that's a very good exit indeed.
Yeah, Edwards is going to have that inside line on that run through, down through turn 7, coming down into 8. Webster on the right, Edwards on the left. They're still going to battle it out. I wouldn't be surprised if they run side by side for this last complete third. Oh, Webster gets a little bit of a slide on. He's lost the position to Edwards now. Is this going to be Webster's last opportunity going through into 12 hairpin? He's surely got to be trying to make something. He's not going to make it work, I don't think. I think he's going to be too far back. Oh, and he slid again. But this is it. John McCutcheon is going to take your victory in the sprint race here tonight for the Radical Race Series Round 4, live from the Hockenheimring. And it's John McCutcheon in first, Simon Edwards second, Dan Webster in third. Then we're going to have, hopefully going to come across the line is David Ward, followed by Graham Brown, Seth Brown behind that, David Rolliston behind that, and then Martina Ward all the way down in 8th place. Not bad, top 10 there as well. James Child, Darrell Taylor. Luke Maxwell missed out. He got 11th, Ewan.
He will at least be only one position behind his main rivals, I suppose, McCutcheon and Edwards and Webster as well. But still, 11th place is far away from where Maxwell would have wanted to be there. It's another 10-15 points he's lost on the 2 leaders as well. I know that we do have a drop week to factor in to that, but if you average out the amount of points they've got from each of the rounds they've been at so far, then Maxwell will certainly come out well behind those top 2 right now. So disappointing first race for him.
Yeah, here are your Heat 1 results. John McCutcheon is your winner. Simon Edwards in second. Dan Webster in third. David Ward in fourth. Graham Brown fifth. Seth Brown in sixth. David Rolliston in seventh. Martina Ward in eighth. James Child ninth. Darrell Taylor in 10th. Luke Maxwell 11th. Jamie Bird in 12th. Andrew Derrick 13th. David Beasley 14th. Paul Clark in 15th. Robert Woodward 16th. Paul LeMay 17th. Damien G down in 18th. Didn't really see much of Damien. George Gonzaga down in 19th. Paul Crabb 20th. Phil Jocelyn 21st. And then Mike Buson, who did not make the start, down in 22nd position. And that is not a good way to go, is it really? Because just for Buson's own championship aspirations, he needed to get onto the grid.
Yeah, he did. We're not really sure what happened to him at all.
No,
we don't know why.
Colin Winner's just trying to find out, I believe.
Yeah,
but
he is.
So
at the moment, we've got no idea really. And yeah, you're right. For those championship aspirations, really damaging indeed. But of course, we do have those drop weeks, free drop weeks again this season, by the way. And I asked earlier on Martina Ward how that's going to work, because we've not traditionally had this 2-race format in the past. It's basically that the 3 lowest round totals, not the race totals. I suppose you just end up eliminating 3 sprint races, I suppose. It's 3 round totals. But I would have thought that means that because there are only 3 endurance races, those 3 races may well just be striked off, because you've got 2 opportunities to score points on a night like tonight, and the maximum available is 65, which is 25 more than the maximum you can get for those endurance races. So it's an interesting way of doing things, but I reckon for a lot of these drivers, those drivers who make every race, I think their lowest total is going to be at the endurance race, almost no matter what happens.
So here is the grid for the feature race. 14 laps here this evening. Darrell Taylor is in first. James Child second. Martina Ward third. David Rolliston fourth. Seth Brown in fifth. Graham Brown sixth. David Ward seventh. Dan Webster eighth. Simon Webster ninth. John McCutcheon 10th. Luke Maxwell is 11th place. Jamie Bird in 12th. Beyond that, Andrew Derrick in 13th, David Beasley 14th, Paul Clark is down in 15th place, Robert Woodward in 16th, Paul LeMay 17th, Damien G 18th, George Gonzaga 19th, Paul Crabb 20th, Phil Jocelyn 21st, and Mike Buson in 22nd place. Now, Mike's made it this time around, but we've got Darrell Taylor at the front. Not sure what happened to Mike. He's on the grid for the feature race, so let's just hope that he can stay here. As I say, there was nothing back at the moment about why he was late, but the lights are going to be coming on, guys, very, very shortly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And Darrell Taylor leads us away. Slow start from Martina Ward, Seth Brown, David Rolleston got an absolute flyer here this evening as well as he's come down through the field. Simon Edwards on the outside, up 2 already. And we've only just started. He's going to be careful though, because this is where it all kicked off last time, going into this section. Oh, everybody Seth Brown runs it deep, but everybody kind of makes it through at the moment, Ewan, as we head down for the first time into the Spit Scare hairpin.
Yeah, I think that opening race has scared everyone a little bit, really, on this opening lap. Everybody taking things a lot calmer, which is probably welcomed by a lot of these drivers. We've got all sorts of challenges going on to the hairpin, lots of locking up, and there comes the contact. John McCutcheon's got around. His lucky car has proved not so lucky, and I believe that could be Luke Maxwell who's turned around again. It is Luke Maxwell turned around again. We've got 4 cars around. Mike Boosson is one of them, is he? No, it's someone else.
Seth Brown, Damien G.
Yes, Seth Brown. Oh no, Boosson was one of them, sorry. Yeah. Boosson was one of them. So Luke Maxwell and Mike Boosson caught up in incidents again.
Yeah, not the greatest. I don't know. I'm not sure what's happening here. I'm really not sure. It's just chaotic at the moment. Here for the Radical Race Series. David Ward, Martina Ward. Martina's on the inside. Husband and wife going at it again. How is this going to work out? David Ward goes through. This time, David Ward makes it through, but I'm sure Martina is not going to let him off that easy. Robert Woodward is also tied up sitting next to Paul LeMay as he's coming round now, turn 15. He's offline, he's dropping down the order. There is Paul LeMay, there is Rob Woodward, and that battle is still surely going to carry on all the way through. We've got Paul Crabb, Paul Clark, Dan Webster. Whoa! Clark got absolute different. He's coming up on the outside. There he is. Paul Clark makes it through, and that... Oh
dear! Dan Webster down the inside and slams into the side of Paul Crabb. But Simon Edwards here, 3rd place, showing exactly why he is a 4-time champion of this series. Even though we've not seen this format in the past, he is the most consistent driver. He can get through anything. Breaking late there from James Child. That's another place for Simon Edwards, who's already into 2nd on lap 2. This is exactly how he does it. He's consistent. He gets to the end of any race in the best position possible with the circumstances presented to him. And he is just unstoppable, even with the formats that we're throwing at him here this season. It's quite unbelievable. Not that I think that John McCutcheon or Luke Maxwell or Mike Boosson were at fault for any of their incidents, to be fair. We probably need to dissect them a little bit more than we did at the time, obviously, because it was happening live and it was a bit mad. But, you know, Simon Edwards done such a good job once again and showing himself why he's the most successful driver in this series.
Yeah, it's a bit of a difficult one to try and find. We will try and have a look back and see. I believe it started here. We'll have a quick look and see if this one works out. Now, there is John McCutcheon in the pink car, okay? So it was McCutcheon who initially went up in the air. Oh,
that's Maxwell. That's Maxwell.
No, Child in the GPB, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, you're right. And there's Maxwell getting hit around by that pink and black car. And Mike Boosson caught up in an entirely separate thing there. So, yeah, John McCutcheon's certainly not at fault for his. Luke Maxwell wasn't at fault for his either. But I mean, it's the luck of the draw. And it's what I expected to see actually in the first race at the hairpin. But it all happened, well, on the start-finish line. Yeah,
that was Jamie Bird who put McCutcheon up in the air. As you see, David Ward making a move past James Child here for 3rd place. David Ward on the left, Child in the green, and that is David Ward up into 3rd overall. Then we've got Dan Webster behind him with Martina Ward. Martina now catching up to the back of Darrell Taylor. Taylor's not had a bad go. He's only down 4 from where he started. There was all that chaos at the beginning, and he hasn't done too badly. There are your gainers and losers. Brown down 15 places. Seth Brown all the way down in 15th currently there this evening as well. Another big one is Graham Brown down 9. Luke Maxwell down 8. Biggest gainer, Paul Crabb, up 12. So Paul Crabb's not had a bad start at all, and Simon Edwards up 7 places. So all in all, not a bad start, and we got this pack here battling away for Martina Ward in 6th, battling Darrell Taylor 5th, with Dan Webster behind her in 6th place.
Yeah, and that's Paul Crabb up to 12th position, despite the fact he got sideswiped by Dan Webster down here at turn 2 a couple of laps ago. Not really sure how that all happened, really, but seemed to lose track of his mirrors and quite what was going on there, did Crabb, but he's still running and still going well. But yeah, this is the kind of train that's really going to help John McCutcheon actually, and Dan Webster, to be fair. Having all these cars so close together means you can sort of pick them off one by one. You don't have big gaps to close every time you have to make an overtake, like Simon Edwards has had to do for the lead of this race. You can just do it one by one, as Dan Webster is making a start on into the hairpin, and so is John McCutcheon with remarkable symmetry down the inside as well of Paul Clark, and trying to take Paul Crabb in one as well.
Crabb's a wily old fox, though. He's not going to, just roll over and get his tummy tickled, I think, from McCutcheon. But McCutcheon is a strong William Wallace, and he's made it through. There's, whoa! That was 3 cars locking up beside with McCutcheon. Then Crabb, then Clark. Excellent avoidance from them guys, but Darrell Taylor's under pressure from Dan Webster, running down into the hairpin at 12. Is Webster going to be looking at making a move on the inside? No, I thought he was going to, Ewan. I thought he was going to, but he didn't quite make it through that time.
No, not quite. He's just got to bide his time here, be patient, really, because he does have a little bit longer in this race. Of course, not an awfully long time. This is only a 14-lap race. So, he hasn't got all the time in the world, but he does have a little bit of time on his side, because he's gotten through on some of the drivers just purely by getting through these opening moments of the race. But he just wants to stay in front of John McCutcheon as well, who will certainly be coming. Would really like to overtake Dan Webster at some point in the near future, but I think he should be able to do it into the hairpin now. Webster was able to overtake Martina Ward in that way 1 lap ago, but he should be able to take Darrell Taylor, the pole sitter, as well into the hairpin here. He's just about close enough. You're going to have to do a little bit of work on the brakes here, but luckily Taylor's done a bit of the work for him there by outbraking himself. And so Dan Webster is up into the top 5.
Yeah, back up front with David Rolleston and Mr. Simon Edwards.
Oh!
They're both
Contact!
off. They're both
Rolleston.
off.
It was Rolleston who just lost it on the power coming out of turn 7, and Edwards had no choice but to go straight into the side of him, and all of a sudden Simon Edwards is in a bit of trouble, really, because he'll have a bit of damage on the front of the car, and he knows it. He's letting some cars through. This could spell real trouble for the championship leader.
Yeah, straight into the side of David Rolleston. He went now, and that's it. Simon Edwards has dropped down the order. He's down into 3rd place, and he's got the ever-looming super fast Dan Webster right behind him. But David Ward has grabbed hold of this given positions that he's got at the moment, and he's now made it up into 1st place. He's just got to keep the car on track here this evening, and I bet for him he would love to be able to take a victory this season, just coming into the season as well, a few rounds ago. So he's making great strides at the moment, is David Ward, and he's currently out in front. But James Child is under pressure here from Dan Webster and Simon Edwards. Edwards there as well. Rob Woodward is another one. He's got Mike Bousson on the coming up to him as well. Andrew Derrick in front there. We've got 4-car train. Mike Bousson on the back, Rob Woodward, Gonzaga and Derrick. But James Child and Edwards and Webster are all together, and this is a different battle now for Simon Edwards than he had previously, isn't it? Because now he's not only got trying to make his way forward, but he's got the ever-looming Dan Webster behind him.
Yeah, he certainly has. He's no longer in control of this race, really. He really did have time on his side, and was able to overtake Rolleston almost when he wanted, because he knew he'd have the pace. But now with the damage and also the position he finds himself in, that's not the case, as Luke Maxwell's horrible day just continues off the road again. He was latched onto the back of this group that contains Mike Bousson and all of the others, and now he's dropping towards the back end of the top 20.
Yeah, this may have had something to do with it. Oh, Paul Clark. Because then
Separate, I think, Paul Clark.
Yeah, because here comes Maxwell. Okay, it wasn't long after this where Maxwell went off, and I'm wondering if it had anything to do with the guys in front as well.
I think it could be down towards the hairpin, maybe, because he's caught up by this point. I think we were watching them at this point, and then I think down towards the hairpin, there's going to be some sort of
drama
incident here between these guys.
We'll just follow this one through, guys, as we find out what happened to Luke Maxwell. This is coming down to the hairpin now. There's Mike Bousson. There's Luke. Oh!
So he spun around.
That's Robert Woodward.
And then he's just waited for him, basically.
Yeah.
But he's waited a good few seconds after Woodward got going as well. So it clearly just felt bad, really, about that incident. As Simon Edwards goes down another place to 4th place now.
Yeah, he's only halfway through as well. He's got 7 laps, and if he's dropped 3, he's dropped 3 in the space of a 2-lap period. You know, where could he end up going down further than this then? Because he's now surely he's got to try and is it damage limitation for Simon Edwards? You know, he might be lucky he's got Darrell Taylor behind him battling away with John McHutchison, because as we know, it probably isn't going to take McHutchison long to clear Taylor to get onto the back of Edwards as well. And if McHutchison brings Ward along with him, Simon Edwards could be 6th or 7th by the end of the race here.
He's understeering a lot here, Simon Edwards. You can see it there. You very rarely push the limits of the grass and gravel out there on the exit of that final corner. Not least because he'll get an off track, but it's just not really. You just wouldn't do that normally. He's definitely understeering through these higher speed corners. He would have been struggling through turn 1. Luckily, it's not a real high speed corner. If he was at Suzuka, he would be in real trouble, and he'd have his head on his desk, to be honest, because it'd be horrible. But around this circuit, he might be able to manage it. It certainly is about damage limitation. James Child and Dan Webster are certainly quicker than him. Dan Webster especially is. He's on a bit of a mission at the moment, up to 2nd place with that move. Edwards has to limit the damage here, although I can't see a way he can keep John McHutchison behind. And his championship lead throughout this race, Simon Edwards, is very much under threat now.
Dan Webster still got Child behind him, but McHutchison has cleared Taylor. So it's now McHutchison on a mission. Oh, that was somebody. That was Darrell Taylor gone round. I heard that one in my ear. So that's Darrell Taylor gone round, dropped down to 9th place now. But it isn't going to be long here before McHutchison closes down on Simon Edwards, I think. And it's now only a matter of time here before Simon Edwards is under the caution. I don't think it's going to be long if Simon's car is as damaged as what we expected it to be.
Yeah, I have to say I'm not totally surprised with the amount of damage that he's got from that. He did smack into David Rolliston, to be fair. Not that he really had a choice. Rolliston just span in front of him, but he's absolutely no match for Dan Webster, who he was quicker than in the first race. I mean, race leader as well, far quicker than Simon Edwards. James Child, I think, is now at a similar pace to him, but John McHutchison will be certainly quicker than him, and Edwards is going to be worried about how many other drivers behind him are going to be quicker. You know, can Paul LeMay catch up in time? Will Martina Ward have the pace to catch up and pass him by the end of this race as well? These sort of equations will be going in his head now, and straight line speed won't be that good either. You can see him full in the face of slipstream now for James Child. He's barely inching closer, although he's good on the brakes. That's not affected. And, you know, that's driver skill coming into it a little bit there. Simon Edwards certainly knows the limits of this car on the brakes. Was nearly able to make a move there. So he's able to stick with James Child. But, I mean, if he had a fully undamaged car, I think he would have been passed by now.
He didn't look like he was topping much on that tyre, on the dashboard when we had a look on the right-hand side. You know, he's pushing sort of 171. Guys in front are doing 174, 176 miles an hour. So, you know, he's clearly not got the pace.
And again,
yes.
Again, it's the high-speed corners. We'll see it out of the final corner as well. I know it's a medium-speed corner, the final corner, and he might be getting used to it now, to be fair, so the point might be a little bit nonsense. But you know, you can just see how much wheel work. Look at that, that's 90 degrees turning circle there, and he's just about getting around the corner. His front tyres, by the way, are really not going to be enjoying this, and we'll see it through turn 1 as well. He's going to have to put a lot of steering lock in through here, and there he goes running wide. He might have been distracted a little bit by Child, but this car's definitely understeering more than it's set up to be.
Yeah, definitely on that one, and unfortunately for him, he's doing 90-degree locks on the steering to try and get that car turned, especially around the final corner and turn 1, as we've just seen there. Now it's McHutchison's time, is within that second draft, Edwards again. Let's have a look if we can see the difference on the right-hand side. Already McCutcheon is up above 171. Edwards, he was in the braking zone, so he'd come down a little bit, but I don't think he was hitting quite that yet before he got to the end of that straight. And it's all about what McCutcheon can do. I don't know, to be honest, whether or not Ward is close enough. I think Martina Ward might be a little bit too far back to make an indent, but that's not saying that she won't. But Paul Crabb is trying to make an indent on Paul LeMay here, and Paul Crabb's naturally quick as well. So, but then again, they've got only 4 laps, and he's got probably about 4 or 5 seconds up the road to try and make up to Simon Edwards. So I think that's probably a little bit of a tall order.
Yeah, not sure. Paul Crabb's been struggling a little bit really in this season, as well as this race in particular as well. Yeah, I wouldn't expect that anyone from behind now to be able to catch up really. There's not many laps left in the race, and Simon Edwards is learning how to drive around this problem. But you can still see him running a little bit wide through the final corner there. Yeah, it's a difficult situation he finds himself in, Simon Edwards, but he is dealing with it well. And if he can keep John McCutcheon behind, then that'll be a huge victory. It'd be like winning this race, and down the side he goes.
Yeah, for how long though? That's going to be the difference. He hasn't quite got it done. This is going to be free wide down into Spitsgate hairpin. Is McCutcheon going to come through the middle like a hot knife through butter? He does. He knows he should have the top end speed over Simon Edwards. Can Child stick with him as well? Is McCutcheon going to pull Child through? McCutcheon goes through. Edward again goes in too deep. Here we go now once again. Edwards on the inside, McCutcheon, Pink Panther on the outside. James Child tucked up right behind him in the green machine behind that. As these guys are running now, down we go. McCutcheon has made it through. If McCutcheon breaks Edwards' draft, could Edward be back under the cost from James Child then? Because surely it was only the draft that was keeping Edwards with Child, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think so. And you saw it there with the straight line speed there for McCutcheon. He was able to go through the middle of the two in front of him. He had a good straight line speed, or just an undamaged car, I suppose, to be able to take advantage. But I do think that Simon Edwards through the corners might just be able to do enough here. I don't think he's going to stick with John McCutcheon by any means, but I think James Child is going to have a hard time sticking with Simon Edwards as well in turns. So let's see how it pans out, and we'll get a better idea towards the hairpin this time. Just how bad is it for Simon Edwards, and how much will James Child be able to catch up over the next couple of moments? I mean, he's quite far back anyway here, Child. So I think Edwards is going to be safe, and he should finish in fourth place. And McCutcheon might well be cemented in third now as well. There might not be enough time left.
Well, Edwards is top end, 171. So obviously Child will have a look at on the next lap around. Child has closed that gap down that straight alone, so it depends on how much speed Edwards has lost over James Child, and whether or not McCutcheon can almost stop pulling Edwards along, I suppose, would be the way to go.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, the straight line speed looks to be the thing that's really affecting Edwards more than anything now, because he can't really drive around bad straight line speed. He can sort of, but it's really hard, and it's quite easy to identify that weakness as a driver behind and be able to get through as a result. So Edwards has really got to make use of the slipstream that McCutcheon has given to him now, because he made a mistake there, did McCutcheon, into turn 7. And so Edwards is now back on the tail again, but I can't see him getting through. And if he does, then sustaining it is more difficult. As we see now, Child has gotten through. I think Edwards must have made a mistake in the final couple of corners.
Yeah, I think he made a mistake going around turn 15 and 16, and Child now has got Simon Edwards at the bit between his teeth currently at the moment, and this is it now. Edwards has practically lost that draft to McCutcheon, so this should be a cakewalk for James Child to clear him on this straight, surely, because the line speeds are going to be different. We know that, we've seen it. This has got to be Child's fourth place now. Surely he's got to be making that move. If it isn't this time, it's going to be that time. Edwards goes out to the right. He's already gone, and we're not even really up into the braking point. Edwards, oh, he's so good on the brakes. Manages to hold on. That's Jamie Bird getting out of the way there on the left-hand side. So well done to Mr. Bird, made that clear. Martina Ward and also Paula May are having a ball. Oh, Buson just goes in deep. I was just picking him up. He was really close with Rolliston, and that is why Rolliston does go through on that one. But we are coming now. We're going to have one more lap. How is Buson and Rolliston going to battle away? But surely Edwards cannot hold this position from Child. Here with one lap remaining, we've got Martina Ward as well battling it out with Paula May. Paul Clark is having a nice little ding-dong down with Damien G for 16th and 17th place respectively. So there's a couple of pockets of battles to keep an eye on. Oh, Ward's got up!
David Ward, oh! David Ward is in real trouble here. He lost the race lead to Webster around halfway around that lap. He must have realised that he was one lap short on fuel, because he's into the pit lane now, and it's going to promote up everybody one more position. And Dan Webster surely now is going to go on to win this race. I do think, by the way, that Simon Edwards will have enough here to hold on to third place.
Oh, I don't know. Here we go. This is going to be the run. I think Charles too far back.
Yeah, exactly. Charles way too far back, and Simon Edwards has done a really good job here, controlling the things that he can control. We noted there how good he was on the brakes last lap, how good he is through the corners. He's driving round the understeer problem, and obviously we'll hopefully speak to him after the race and see just how bad the damage actually was. But yeah, he's done a really good job here, and he should be able to take the podium now.
Buson and Rolliston still having a ding-dong there on track, coming into the hairpin. Buson goes through this time over Rolliston, and then Martina Ward and Paula May are going backwards and forwards on this final lap as well. These guys are coming round turn 8 on this run through 9 and 10, but it looks like Webster is going to take this victory. Poor David Ward there, unfortunately, one lap short on fuel. But here comes Dan Webster for your victory in the feature race this evening. Dan Webster comes across the line in first place, closely followed by John McCutcheon. Simon Edwards did hang on to third. James Child there as well. Martina Ward coming across the line in fifth, but hanging on from Paula May with Paul Crabbit up in seventh. Darrell Taylor behind that. Mike Buson hanging on from David Rolliston in ninth. David Ward coming round in 10th. I'm scared, you know, because that doesn't look long enough for a pit stop.
It can't have been a drive-through penalty. Well, surely not.
That does not look long enough for a pit stop.
Yeah, it wouldn't have needed to be long anyway. It wouldn't have needed to be a long stop. It needed a very short, one lap of fuel, 2 or 3 litres or whatever it is, maybe less, and on his way again. So I can absolutely believe that he has made a stop here, unless he's going to drive. Oh wait, no, he is making a stop here.
Was he
but
that
it's going to be
far
for like
ahead?
1 or 2. It's going to be for 1 or 2 seconds here, really. But yeah, I mean, in these longer races, even the feature race here, the field gets pretty spread out, really. And yeah, David Ward was miles ahead. But I think he realised on that penultimate lap that he wasn't going to make it, because Webster got through almost without argument, and obviously went on to take the win.
Dan Webster in first place, John McCutcheon in second, Simon Edwards third, James Child in fourth, Martina Ward, excellent fifth place there. Paula May and Paul Crabb, 24 places gained between the two of them. Up in 6th and 7th, Darrell Taylor in 8th, Mike Buson 9th, Dave Rolliston 10th, David Ward in 11th, George Gonzaga in 12th, Luke Maxwell 13th, Andrew Derrick 14th, Paul Clark 15th, Damien G 16th, Rob Woodward 17th, and Seth Brown down in 18th place. Beyond that, David Beasley, Jamie Bird, Phil Jocelyn, and Graham Brown. So Dan Webster takes the victory here this evening. Well, okay, so apart from what we can only deceive as complete driver's block here for some of these drivers, they were quite chaotic races, weren't they, really?
They were, yeah, very chaotic races, really. Yeah, a little bit surprising. You don't often see that at this kind of circuit. I guess we'd have some other candidates for that kind of race, like Bathurst, I suppose. But yeah, I mean, it was a couple of very chaotic races, really, but enjoyable ones nevertheless, and important ones for the championship as well. Simon Edwards does still lead, but his lead is now slashed to only 3 points ahead of John McCutcheon. It's been a great first third of this season, and we're seeing a fantastic fight between the two shape up.
Yeah, how, on that note, right, we've had this change of format. Is this change of format contributing to the league racing that we're seeing? Was it just that one change that has made this league go from one level to another?
I'm not sure, because the season that Luke Maxwell took his so far only championship a couple of seasons ago now, season 3 last year, that was with that old format, and that went down to the very final race. So you could argue that the previous format did produce championship finales in close championships anyway. But also, I think just the addition of John McCutcheon has helped a great deal as well. Previously, McCutcheon's been here for a few races, but that's never going to win you a championship. You need to be here for pretty much all of them, at least 9 of the races. And the fact that McCutcheon has been able to actually do that this season has been really helpful, because if you actually look at the championship taking McCutcheon out, then Edwards would have possibly more than 50 points of a championship lead already.
Yeah, I see what you mean. So let's bring in Dan Webster into the booth. Good evening, Dan. How are you, young sir?
Brill, thank you. How are you?
I'm wonderful, mate. I've just watched you take 2 podiums in a night, 1 in 3rd, and the victory in the last one. Not a bad evening, right?
No, that was excellent. Better than expected, actually. So yeah, very happy with that.
How was your feeling going into this race? Because Hockenheim, can be a tough circuit. That run down into turn 1 could be quite chaotic. Was there any doubts in your mind for tonight's racing, Dan, or was you like, I've got this track nailed?
To be honest, practice earlier in the week, I really got on top of it, and I was really quick, so I was confident. And then the closer it got to today, the slower I got, and I couldn't repeat any of my practice times. So I thought, if I can get a reasonable result in the first race, then it'll bump me up the front of the grid in the second race. So yeah, I did much better than I expected.
Well, look, it was impressive in general. We're just watching you at the start of this race go through. We were 3 wide at one point. It got a little bit manic and a little bit scrappy in the middle of the race. Are your senses heightened being sat in the pack that you are sat in? Because you've got cars left, cars right, cars in front, cars behind. There's just cars everywhere. Is it a different level of driving in the league?
Yeah, I mean, it's tricky, obviously, when you're 2 or 3 wide. I trust all the people in this league, because they all try really hard to be, really clean and fair, but mistakes do happen. And to be fair, Hockenheim is really tricky for the first 2 or 3 laps on the brakes. Very, very easy to lock the wheels. I've done it multiple times in practice, totally unexpected. So I was sort of expecting people to have a few lockups and run a bit wide here and there. So yeah, just trying to stay out of trouble as best as I could.
Yeah, they definitely did have a few lockups, mate. There was a good few people going a little bit wide. Next week we've got the endurance at Rudskogen. Ever been there before?
That'll be interesting. I've done 2 or 3 laps in, I think, the GR86 or whatever it is when it came out, but that's it. I couldn't tell you which way around the track went.
No, so Dan Webster practicing this week then?
Yeah, I better do as much practice as I can.
Well, thank you so much for joining us there this evening as well. Dan, is there anyone you want to give a shout out to before you leave the booth this evening?
Just all the guys in the league, as always. They make it what it is. So, yeah, they're really good eggs, all of them.
Thank you so much for joining us, Dan, and we look forward to seeing you next week.
Yeah, look forward to it.
Take care.
Cheers.
All right, guys, we are going to bring in Mr. John McHutchinson into the booth. Evening, first in the sprint, second in the feature. After you can see from the feature, he had a very rough start at the beginning at the hairpin. There was a lot of incidents going on there, John. But welcome into the booth. How are you, sir?
I'm good, James. I told you Pink was lucky.
Oh, mate, I didn't think it was at one point, though, John, when you got caught up in all that stuff in the feature race. I'll tell you that much.
No, it wasn't looking good, was it? But a long race, so plenty of time to come back.
Yeah, and you definitely did that, mate. First in the sprint, second in the feature, beat Simon Edwards both times. That's going to do your championship a world of good, I suppose, isn't it, really?
think it was only 10 points between us at the start,
Yeah, it
so
was,
I don't know the scoring points off the top of my head, so I'll just take it as it comes and do my best each week.
I'm sure my mathematician Ewan is working it out intensely right about now because he's normally the one on the score points straight away. So,
God, if he's working it out, I'll be bottom of the league then.
Oh, Ewan, what's he saying about you, sir?
That's rude. That no, I mentioned earlier on. I believe it's down to 3 points at the minute between you two because you did beat him both times, but there was only one position between you each time. So 3 points between you. Very very exciting stuff.
Is Simon still top?
Yeah, just about.
Okay, that's okay.
Told you Ewan's on it, mate. I tell you, he's like a human
Oh,
calculator.
we don't know if that's right yet, James. To be fair, but
We'll
I think it is.
Yeah, exactly. Take it as it is that Ewan is correct. John, we're going off to Norway next week, off to this Rudskogen Motor Centre. Ever turned a lap there in the Radical?
Haven't turned a lap in any car on it, so it's all new to me next week.
So are you going to be out practicing then?
It's an endurance race as well, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, mate. You've got 29 laps.
Okay. I'll give it a bash. Get some practice in.
Yeah, as we do.
I seem to be getting top of the setups now. I seem to know what I'm doing now to make it last the race, so that's good. Took me long enough.
Do you know, right, I'm looking back through this replay of the first couple of laps here in this feature. You've been involved in an incident. You've gone and built sandcastles in the gravel trap. And yet you still come away in second place. You know what I mean?
I had to go into the gravels to avoid Dan. I would have killed him. I think I'd done the exact same thing last season. I spun it lap one, turn one. I almost done it today in the sprint, and I almost took someone out of that turn as well.
Well, you've done, mate. I couldn't do what you do. You've done an absolutely stellar job. Onwards and upwards for Mr. McHutchison. Anyone you want to give a shout out to before you leave the booth this evening, John?
A shout out to all the drivers tonight. I thought the racing was really good, really hard to pass people, but always fair. You know, they always left room and vice versa. So I enjoyed that tonight. So shout out to them guys.
No worries, John, and we'll look forward to catching you next week.
Thanks, James.
Take care. Right, we are going to bring in Mr. Simon Edwards into the booth. Third place in the sprint. Second place in the sprint, third in the feature this evening. Simon, good evening. How are you?
I'm good. Good. I really enjoyed that race. I know I didn't win them, but I enjoyed it.
No, do you know what though? John's just said the same thing, right? There was a lot of good racing. It got chaotic at times, and I'm not going to lie. You know, me and Ewan weren't really sure where to point the cameras and who to talk about because there was a lot going on over the first few laps in this SR10. But everybody seemed to have come away and said, actually, I really enjoyed that race. You know. It just seems to be a whole through that everybody enjoyed this specific race, even though there was a lot going on.
Yeah, even though I thought I had that second race in the bag, I was just cruising up to. Who was it? I forgot. It's David, wasn't it?
Yeah, Dave Rolliston.
Yeah, and I thought, I'd given him my setup as well, so I thought, he's got a nice stable setup on there. He's doing well. And then he insta spins in front of me.
Yeah, did you have damage, Simon?
Yeah, pretty bad damage, actually. I looked at it afterwards. All the left-hand front of the car is all bent up.
Yeah,
so I had no top-end speed. The car handling okay, but I was having to push the corners really, really much more than I would have done otherwise. Yeah. But yeah, I had no top-end speed, so if anybody got in my draft, they'd just zoom straight past me.
Now, did that, though, that's what I want to touch on, right, with that draft. Did that draft to John McHutchison save you from James Child?
It might have done. It might have been, yeah. I was trying to stay there, but I was losing it anyway. I don't think I was gaining too much, to be honest with you. I would have defended like mad anyway. I didn't know if I'd pulled in front of James, so I gave him the place back. So that's why I pulled over and let him pass me after I'd gone off the track. So I didn't know if I'd interfered with him. So I thought I better at least give him the place. And I didn't realise I got damage at that point. And then I regretted it afterwards.
Well, you're still at this moment in time. We think you're still leading the championship by 3 points. Going into Rudskogen next week, I've asked everybody, I'm going to ask you as well, have you turned a lap there in the SR10?
Not in anything. I don't think I've even got it downloaded. So,
Well, I'm going to say you're not the only one.
yeah, it's going to be interesting, isn't it? I'm going to have to get at least a practice in over the weekend to get it burned into my brain.
Yeah, definitely. To be honest, thinking back, Simon, I don't even think I've got it downloaded, so I better get on that. Otherwise, we're all in trouble next week. But overall, mate, it's been a great evening of racing. Anyone you want to give a shout out to before you leave the booth this evening?
I'll give a shout out to John for realising I was coming at 3,000 miles an hour in that first race and staying wide.
Yeah, well,
yeah.
Well done to Mr.
I just
McGuffin.
missed my back braking marker by about 50 metres.
Yeah, it looked good though. I've got to be honest, it looked exciting, you know, from our point of view, of course, as well. But thank you, Simon, for joining us this evening, and we look forward to seeing you next week.
Yeah, you too.
Take
See you
care.
then. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Well, Ewan, they're all fairly positive about the racing, weren't they? Everybody seems to have loved this one.
Yeah.
Which is, I don't know if it's strange or not, because there was so much going on.
I think it's what makes this league so unique, really, is that after a race like today, you normally expect, 50 people swearing at each other and everybody hates life and, all of that. But, there's just none of that. Everyone's just having a great time. And you've got to really admire that in this league, because I've not experienced that very often, to be honest, in any form of sim racing, really. We do like a bit of a rant, a keyboard smash or whatever. Yeah.
Do we?
Well, yeah, a lot of people do. I don't,
Right.
but a lot of people do. So it's good to see that in this league, in the Radical Race Series, we often had some very good spirited, a lot of very good spirited people, and everybody's enjoyed themselves. It does help that we talked to the only 3 drivers that got on the podium all day. To be fair, maybe that gives us a bit of a skewed idea. But looking through the Discord as well, and the chats that people are having, people who finished further down seem to have enjoyed their evening as well. But the consensus very much is that nobody knows what Rudskogen is. They probably have never heard of it before this schedule came out. But they're about to embark on a 29-lap endurance race in 1 week's time at that very circuit. So that's going to be very interesting, because those races where people have prepared least and have the least idea quite what's going on are usually the best and most entertaining.
Yep, absolutely. Well, Mike Bousson has said, I raced in stall as he pressed the grid button in race 1. So Colin Winning YouTube there. It's a great little circuit, so I presume he's talking about Rudskogen there as well. So it looks like they've all enjoyed themselves. No dramas going on here again. Throughout the Discord, as we said, that's what makes this league so amazing. It's just been absolutely incredible racing all the way through, and everybody has thoroughly enjoyed themselves. And, well, I think I have as well. I don't think I've seen a chaotic start like that to a race for a long while. So fair play to these guys. They made it through, and it's been absolutely amazing. But there you go, guys. That is bringing this to the end here this evening as well. And don't forget, coming up on the JPB YouTube channel, we are once again kicking off the Radical Sim Racing World Series, and that starts after this. Well, not for you UK individuals, it'll be about 1:45 in the morning. We've got the US division of the Radical Sim Racing World Series, so that kicks off round about 1:45 in the morning. Then tomorrow night we've got the Radical Sim Racing, the World Series again for the AMs and Pros of the European division. That is kicking off between 8 and 10 p.m. Then we've got the SRL 10 TCR event. That is coming at 10:15 p.m. on Friday. Then Saturday, there might be a surprise coming up. We're just working out the details on that one. Then on Sunday, we've got the Radical Sim Racing, the Endurance event kicks off. And then we've got the LSRL GT3 round 1 as well, after from the Americas there at 1:45 in the morning. So a busy weekend coming up here on the JPB YouTube channel. Stay tuned. Don't forget to subscribe, turn on the bells for notifications, and give the video a big old thumbs up. But for now, guys, from myself and Ewan O'Leary, you all take care. Have a great week. And you never know, we might see you on the track sometime. Good night.